You're welcome back to the show, AM Show. We're talking Christmas activities, traffic, what you need to look out for. Yesterday, we looked at what you need to look out for when you go out there buying food. The FDA is telling you to be wary of the wholesomeness of the items that you're buying. Look out for expiry date, look out for seals, and look out, of course, for the environment of wherever you're going to make those purchases at. We also spoke about security yesterday. We spoke about young ladies, of course, and those of us who want to have fun, how we need to comport ourselves, what we need to look out for, how we need to be careful about the people that we as we like to say, we roll with. What we didn't touch on yesterday, by the way, was how we're going to keep our children. How should children be kept during the festive seasons? If you need to travel, if you need to, spend some time, have a little we time with yourself and your husband, yourself with your wife, the family, you know what I mean. If you want to have that time, what happens to the children? And one of the things that have come up that somewhere a few years ago, I believe, there was a story from Uganda where a nanny, she was supposed to be a nanny who beat up this child mercilessly, and it was by the help of a CCTV camera that this was seen. Otherwise, the child would just have to leave with the trauma and the pain that they went through. So today we're talking about safety of our children whilst we celebrate the season. I've got ASP Efia Tenge on the line again. Yesterday, she was with us in the studio. Today, she joins us over the telephone lines to help us with some tips on how, what to do with our children this festive season. Hello, ASP, good to have you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning and good to have you. Thank you so much for coming yesterday, and thank you once again for coming on today as well.
All right, my pleasure.
Okay. Now, one of the things that we didn't touch on yesterday, of course, was how safe we need to keep our children, how safe children should be, even in this festive season. What will be your advice as to how to keep children during this season if you need to travel? We can start with that one, and then we look at the bigger picture, whether or not you're traveling. If you're not traveling, what to do as well with the children. Let's start with what to do if you are traveling. What is the police services recommendation?
Yes, good morning to your listeners and or your viewers. First of all, yesterday, as we have indicated, we touched on security, but one aspect of our security that most of us may not be so mindful of has to do with the safety of our children domestically. What I am passionate about as a mother is the sexual abuses of children.
Right.
And then we have seen for some time that some of the reports that we receive has to do with children being abused sexually, especially when they are on holiday, when they have to go and spend holidays, maybe from their homes or through some other family members, friends, and all that. And we know that it's Christmas. People would want to move from one place to another. Parents want the best for their children, so they send them from where they are, probably to have another experience at other locations or other residences and all that. We know that sexual abusers most of the time have to be perpetrated by people who are known to the victims. Mostly these perpetrators are known, and they may come in the form of even adult siblings. They may come in the form of uncles. They may come in the form of even own parents or some friends' parents and all that. It may not also necessarily be the abuse of girls that we usually perceive. Young boys who encounter some of these abuses. So when we are talking about sexual abuses of children, we should not always think about our ladies, I have a boy, so I do not care. Yeah. I do not care about what happens. Usually, when we are sending them away or we are taking them for holidays and all that, we should be mindful of these things. I know that we are preoccupied with a lot of activities. We are thinking about general security. We are thinking about the safety of the family. But one aspect that we ignore has to do with this. And therefore, I would passionately appeal to parents that whenever we are leaving our wards, our kids, our children, we should be very mindful who we leave these children with. Even if the children come back to tell us or complain about anything that has to do with sexual contact in any form, let us not ignore, or let us not just forget to probe further. Let us find out why the child is saying so.
Okay.
And
So Esme, let's try and put this in maybe a bit of some bullet points that will make it easier for people to remember. Now, first of all, you're saying that you should be mindful of who you're leaving your child with. In terms
Exactly.
of in terms of who you leave who you leave your child with, and be mindful of the things they say to you on your return. Those are the two things that I'm picking at this moment. But in terms of who you leave your child with, who is, I mean, definitely you wouldn't know who is going to be a bad person, because usually these children, even those who have been abused, have been left with people who are in positions of trust. So you're looking at
exactly.
an auntie, you're looking at an uncle, you're looking at, you know, a neighbor. Exactly. So
exactly.
who would you, upon your recommendation, who should be the best person to leave your child with? Is there anything like that at all?
Yes, I know that it is difficult now if I start begin to mention the kind of people we should leave our children with, because you may not know who may one point in time become so harmful. But at least I sometimes we forget it's not even part of our thoughts, part of our planning. Carelessly leave them to anybody. And as you have said, we usually leave these children with people or in positions of trust and authority, people we believe can take good care of us. But is that what we see? So let us not forget, recently there was an issue in Medina, that was about a few years ago, where kids who were on vacation were made to witness some form of was there a masturbation, where the children, they were there, and they were made, or they were forced by a lady to, excuse my language, to suck the penis of one, and while they take photographs of the action or what was going on. These are some of the things we talk about. It may not necessarily be a sexual contact. Sometimes the kind of things that are exposed to the children, and some images, obscene or nudity, all these things, sometimes you see that we have a lot of things on our phone, and we begin to expose the children to them, or you exposing yourself or your nakedness before these children. So it necessarily might not just be that, it has to be a sexual contact that we always think. But some of these things, let us pay attention, because when the children come back, if you have been with children or understudied them, you realize that usually the things they learn over the period or in the day, you begin to hear from them in their conversation. As they talk, some of these things come up. So let us not brush them off. We have to go and find out, in a way, find out from the child what the child has been exposed to. And if possible, you advise yourself on what to do. Because these are the way, this is how they start. They start in these angles, and before you realize, it becomes very difficult, and the child is abused to the extent that he or she suffers the pain afterwards.
So what are the signs to look out for instance? Because there are some of these children who can't really talk, depending on their age. They can't really talk. Some of them, they get intimidated, they get threatened, actually, so they can't really come out to say what happened to them. We've heard of cases of rape where they've been threatened they've been threatened with death, and so they won't even say it, even if you ask them. Are there any signs that you should look out for on your child if you left them with anybody? What should you look out for?
Yes, especially with kids who cannot speak or who have not attained the ages of speaking, who cannot express themselves. We would say that sometimes if we parents, we are taking care of them, sometimes even their emotional expression. Sometimes you are bathing your child, not necessarily a girl, a boy. When I'm talking about child, I mean boys and girls as well. So when you are battling, then you realize that the child is uncomfortable, especially when you touch certain parts, especially the vital or the intimate part of the child. You know, the child wants to shrink in, and also the child, you know, you realize that he's not comfortable with the way things, the way you even use a mother, you are tending to him or her. That should even send a signal and find out, why is my child behaving this way? And go, and sometimes you may even see some soiled underclothes and all that, blood lining, and some of these things are initial indicators, or they are early warning signs that you just don't have to just say, oh, maybe maybe even be in infection and all that. So they may not express it, but you taking care of your child, even if the child has undergone through some of these emotional exploitation or sexually, even when you attend to the child, when you see the child, you realize that no, this is not my child. So we as parents, we need to learn, we need to know, we need to see what they even complain about, what is happening to the child. By the time you realize, maybe by the time you even send the child to the hospital, it may be too late. Some parents forget totally about them. We just think, oh, we need to provide their school fees, we need to buy them this and that. They said, no, we should be able to examine them. We should be able to look at them critically and not just look at them by just looking at them for looking sake. But we should be able to probe further and find out why things are going the way they are. If the child even does not feel comfortable to come to you, you know, and which of course may not be the usual thing between you and your child, you should find out what is happening. Ask questions. And by so doing, I believe that we will get answers.
Right. Would you advise, I mean, the last time there was an incident in Uganda, they only found out because the family had installed CCTV cameras in their home that could capture the actions of this nanny. Is there something that you would advise people to do? And for those who can't afford a CCTV camera in their home, are there any security measures that they could take whilst they're leaving their children at home?
Yes, why not? If you can afford and you believe that you don't have any form of a monitoring system, and this is the only way you can monitor activities while you are even at the workplaces, I think it must be applauded. With what happened in Uganda like that, if we had not had the CCTV camera, it would have been difficult for anybody to detect what goes on in the home. So if you can afford it, I even know of a friend who delivered, and immediately he was requesting for some of these CCTV cameras to be fixed in his home. But I will always ask that the moment you fix them, let them also know that this is what you have done.
Okay. So that they don't even do it at all.
Exactly. So that from time to time we begin to monitor. For now, our parents in the past have stayed so close to us. They have always gone to school and come back to meet them. We are always with them, and therefore even some of the things and the practices we take, some of them are corrected before they even they get to a stage where it's difficult to correct. But now, depending on how the dynamics of the world, how things are going, most of us, we women and fathers, and all of us, we are all working. So who is responsible in taking care of our children? So if we are working out there, let us also think about the children. Otherwise, it will come to a time, even teachers, people we bring home to even teach our children. We cannot even guarantee our children in the safety of these persons. So always let us take the interest and the safety of these children into heart.
So teachers who are coming home, friends and family members we are inviting over, even when you are there at home. Now we've spoken about your absence, where you leave your children and what you do in your absence. But even if you are home, there are still some things that you need to be careful of. The people that you're bringing home. And if you're, say, having a party at home or having a family get-together, you still need to get your eyes on your children.
Exactly.
But how do you do that when you're having to take care of other necessities at home?
So is that necessity more important than the child?
No, I'm
I
just
know that
asking
we have
for, any maybe tips.
advice.
Right.
Yes, that is why I'm saying that whatever activity we may be occupied in may not be very, very important than the children. We know
Okay.
that at these stages of the child or children, it is difficult for them to just pick anything. At these are the formative stages of children, and as such, we should be able to mentor them well. We should
Okay.
be able to guarantee their safety because they are very vulnerable. There
Okay.
are things they don't know. The things that usually happen to them are things that they have no control of. They are things that they can do little or nothing about.
About.
So
Are
we,
there
the
any
parents,
are there any statistics from the police service about such incidents, especially during Christmas?
oh, of course, there should be statistics, but probably maybe I may not be readily available with those statistics.
Okay.
But
Okay.
there are. At the end of every year, we compile our report, our annual report, and some of these things are factored into them. That is why I even wanted to get a specialist from that unit to be able to
Right.
help us with it. So at the appropriate time, we will get them for them to come and expose all of us to some of the hazards that children face, especially around this seasonal period.
Okay. We'll say a very big thank you to you, ASP Efia Tenge. We will definitely get back to you and continue this discussion on the safety of our children. ASP Efia Tenge speaks for the Greater Accra Regional Police Command, and she has been helping us. So these are a few things that I'm putting together that you should pay attention to. As we celebrate Christmas, how safe are our children? How do we keep our children safe? She says, be careful of who you're leaving your children with. Even though they could be people in positions of trust, but you still have to be careful. And how can you be careful? You need to listen to your children when you return to them. Listen to them and be very pay attention to the things that they say. Examine them quite closely. Interrogate them and examine them. Look on their bodies. Look out for signs and look out for their reaction to things. And of course, if you can afford, as much as possible, get a CCTV camera at your house. If you can't afford, you can still, be a little bit more careful. She talks about being careful about the people that you bring home, friends, family, teachers, whoever. Just keep an eye on them anyway. So just a few things that you need to remember. We'll be doing some entertainment while the team is on their way to the 37 Military Hospital to bring you the traffic situation there. Right now, though, Becky is going to join me in just a bit with some entertainment news to spice up your morning.